This is the last Predator exam, where only the most potential candidates will come together to prove their ability to pass the exam. Entrants have to find and kill 10 ox. The exam was like a real kiln. The temperature was so high that it barely suffocated most of the examinees, and the sweat flooded their faces. But this one was different. While the others were barely falling, he was not even sweating. The previous test could not measure his power. As the exam began, chaos erupted. Every magic ball most of the examinees desperately failed, becoming prey to monsters that hunted weak prey. Even a group of so-called high-ranking people can hardly kill off a few, scramble to kill to survive, and no one cares about Han Dai
moving with
Xiong.
Crazy speed.
He found the first reed and crushed it like a bug, by smashing the rock so hard that the rubble killed No.2. But hunting monsters one by one was already getting tired of him early. So instead of that, Han Dai Xiong then trailed all their tribes hidden underground. He dug straight into their traps and tribbled them all as if it wasn't a big deal. Only then the exam was over. The instructor stared in disbelief. The test was only just beginning. And Han Deng was done. No one in history has ever passed this exam so fast. Even the secret gunman sent by the top network to get rid of him is afraid to come out stiff with fear. Finally, that ordinary exams in extreme heat are meaningless for someone who has lived in hell for 80 years. You see, before the day Han Dai Xiong finished high school, he was living a normal life, walking like a normal human being anyway. Stumbling up, however, his soul separated from his body. What he realized later was that he found himself sinking deeper and deeper. He was scared when his eyes came across a ferocious and cruel monster who was fighting a brutal battle. The scary part was that the loser would be devoured, so Dasang hid and survived without eating anything for 10 days in a row. The weird thing about this place is that there is no day-night cycle at all. When our hero finally reaches the breaking point, the only way to survive is to eat raw, rotting meat left by the monster. Even if it is disgusting, he gradually adapted to his brutal surroundings, starting to counter monsters who saw him as a victim using only pebbles from the ground. Perhaps he could chase it away. With no other choice, he needed to fight using what he could find and turn it into a makeshift weapon. Tears flowed from his eyes when he thought of his mother, and in that moment he promised not to succumb to despair. As time passed, the days became a blur to the point where he decided from a donkey in his humanity. The ever-disgusted flesh has now become such a rarity that he learned to appreciate to survive. One day while eating, a monitor unexpectedly appears in front of him. It's revealed that he's already reached level 3 by then. Everything is like a game. As 7 years have passed, he's reached level 24, with this level of strength, so he can easily kill monsters that used to look like ferocious monsters. After 24 years, he succeeded in creating a sword out of stones collected from the Dragon Knight, but time did not stand still. It flows Laos with a gentle breeze. In his 51st year, Daesung accomplished a remarkable feat in slaying ancient dragons. In the 79th year, he finally found his way to Lost Demons, a creature that dragged him into this infernal life. And most importantly, without consent, he was not at all cold-hard to stab through the insects guarding the caves of Lost Demons. And even the goalkeeper himself has no chance against the surprisingly old and young protagonist, threatening to politely open the door or to have his remains eaten by monsters in this hell. But the soldier is not easy and fights a little. He saw the mission as an insult to the honor of the devil, so burst out his anger. As he was speaking abusively, he felt like something had pierced him in, and looking down, he found a big hole in his chest. Daesung didn't care, just said that this loud rubbish bothered him, and the floating carrion bones asked if he wasn't afraid that the Demon King would retaliate for killing the doorman, or then he meant to dominate real hell. He ignored the fireball's concerns, saying he didn't care about being a stupid leader. But he explained that 80 years had passed since he was dragged in here, and that every demon he faced was amazing, each with an interesting story and a reason to be in hell. That is why he wanted to face the Demon King and ask why brought here Fire Yabal, thought his way of asking was quite stupid, and suggested that there might be a more polite way to handle this. It offered him a bow and a request for mercy. But he remained steadfast, insisting that violence be retaliated against the suffering especially when he was brought here without his consent. In fear, he grabbed his sword and ran close to the Demon King, but Zhu found himself in the hospital. He panicked, thinking that this was all a dream, especially because he hadn't dreamed of the world for a long time. Near, he saw the child. The child played together, and he realized that with his shape, he looked very weak, could not move his body. He believed that this must be a clear dream. His mother opened the door in trembling at the sight of her waking son after 30 years, crying and hugging him tightly. But Di-Seng felt extreme disdain for this dream, seeing it as incredibly ridiculous. He was on the side of killing the Demon King and becoming the supreme ruler of this hell, when a fireball buddy asked what he would do next. A message suddenly appeared asking if he wanted to return to Earth. 80 years ago, the only thing he wanted was to get away from here alone without waiting. He quickly accepted that offer and suddenly found himself in the hospital after waking up from a coma for 30 years. The doctor checked the reaction of his eyes and gestured to his mother to comfort that the recovery therapy would bring her son back to normal in no time. For his mother, this was a pleasure. But for Di-Seng, it felt like a curse. The idea of coming back to life after wasting such a weak state was unacceptable to him. He became more and more anxious, thinking that his entire journey to hell was only a dream. The villagers began to fear him when he showed signs like a madman, flooding with frustration and confusion. He threatened the doctor not to come near him, but he demanded to know what his body was. He bit him like a wild animal. Went to ask if there was paralysis or poisoned, wholeheartedly hoping that this was just a nightmare and madness. He fell out of bed, which made his mother more anxious. He thought for 80 years in hell, feeling that everything was wasted. Even in the darkest moments, he never despaired of fleeing. And now he wishes to return. The officer was immediately summoned, holding Di-Seng's arms on both sides to force him back to bed. As he peeked through the window, he saw a huge wormhole open in the sky. Confused and desperate, he asked himself about his fate, thinking that life in hell was just a dream he experienced while in a coma when he refused to calm down. The doctor injected him to put him to sleep, and then when the feeling finally returned, he found himself watching the news on TV, and the hunting team was sent to eliminate the monster, and then the team leader sent a report to a man who came to him. The man looked shocked and very glad to find that he was awake. Di-Seng asked who he was until finally realized in a flash that this was his friend. Chan-Ho said that he had been in this condition for 10 years. He explained that 10 years ago the troop was going home. He was born unconscious and fell, and since that time he was lying in this bed. Hearing that it was 10 years, Di-Seng felt confused and relieved. Mixed, he thought that 30 years had passed. But what annoyed him the most was the realization that he had spent 80 years in hell. Chan-Ho said that his mother suffered a lot, worked 3 jobs to pay for hospital medical expenses. He encouraged him to regain control of his own life. Also, as our Demon King was pushed away by his mother for a breath of fresh air, he felt a heavy sense of responsibility and hatred in his body for not being able to move himself. Suddenly, 2 men showed up and demanded the money his mother had borrowed. She apologized, and one asked to give her another month, but the thugs were not interested in the rage. One of them punched her hard, threatening to hurt her. Tears poured down her cheeks while Juan gave them to stop insulting her son. Her voice shook in despair, but Joe ignored her words. He rolled up his sleeves and started punching poor women. Seeing his mother suffering ignited the rage in Dae-Song. He started calling them worms. When one of the thugs grabbed his sleeve, his mother accelerated, telling him to apologize to Juan, let the thugs release her son, warning that he was a child. Dae-Song did not give up. The more the gangster pushed him to the ground hard and savagely beat as he tried to control the anger and the forest to return to its original body, the emergency mission suddenly appeared in front of it in the state window. Without hesitation, he quickly took it, knowing full well that he had no other choice. His lifeline status window made him endure hell on his own when he accepted the mission. Everything around was as stationary as time stopped walking. The terms of the mission appeared on the status page. He was told to reach the designated point within an hour. along with the promise of receiving an elixir drug. With determination, he thought whether restoring the original power was possible and saw the red mark just 10 meters away. He tried to get up, but with a smile on his face began to crawl towards the target. The idea of complaining about something ridiculous made him disgusting. In the end, when crawling much slower, he was the one who had overcome centimeters became meters, and meters felt like endless kilometers. With this stroke, he began to wonder in his own ability tried to keep whether to reach his destination in time, knowing that, according to experience, the system never gave away impossible missions or kells. Recalling the conditions as time went on, he realized that the only verse to do was to reach his destination. No matter what he did, the ultimate crawling hero became annoyed, knowing that the most obvious answer was in front of him all to his wheelchair, moving slowly but steadily until he finally sat down, but with only 35 seconds left. Indomitable, he caught the cart and pushed himself forward, not giving up on hope. He pushed on, and at the last second reached his destination. When the mission was completed, he quickly grabbed the prize and ate it quickly. Almost immediately, a wave of relief overwhelmed into him, his pain gradually fading, and despite being a small fraction, he began to restore a little physical power. After the mission's completion, looked around, perplexed, the effect of the time off dissipated, who seemed fleeting in the air. But before they began searching, the police arrived first. Seemingly to witness the whole incident. With no other choice, the mob rushed away from the scene. One night, the group lay in the hospital. He, the king of demons, tried to call the status window repeatedly, but unsuccessfully, he didn't know how it had opened earlier. Desperate, so he tried orders such as missions and submissions. His brain is finally abandoning a new mission, hoping it will help him restore power before the thugs return. Suddenly, a strange sound breaks the silence, and he finds himself waiting in a place called Thousand Tien. At first, he looked at it as a ridiculous dream, but soon it became clear that this was not an illusion. He was summoned here for some mission without hesitation. He asked for another mission, and the drill ball, a similar-looking sting monster, appeared in front of him. He followed orders, and upon completion the mission was completed, a new mission he was rewarded with a memory chip. This time for him to run for 10 kilometers. The mission continued to flow, and every time he succeeded, he was rewarded with 10 days in a row. He continued to fight, did mission after mission, but managed only 55% of the total goals. Frustration began to accumulate as he tired of these low-level missions and finally demanded challenges worthy of him. In response, the system gave him a new mission. To kill the wailing devil, suddenly lightning struck down before him, and the wailing devil appeared. The king of demons, who calls himself the king of demons, recalls near death in the face of this opponent in the past and is excited by the prospect of getting revenge on a monster being thrashed by lightning, roaring loudly and fiercely clawed attacks. Dyson narrowly dodged, knowing that a single hit would break him down. He jumped forward to attack, but the monster easily brushed him off, sending him to the ground. Blood flowed from his mouth while trying to rise, the shame of being clambered by a crying demon, eating his pride. The battle continued by Dyson, the demon king who should have been terrified as a villain, forced to play a frustrating maneuvering game, and the devil held him tight in his reach during that desperate moment, Dyson recalled. When he destroyed that monster the first time he met, he almost forgot that he could summon the sword without hesitation. He called it up in his hand and slashed through the devil's left claw quickly. Send the devil back to where it came from quickly, like it's an ordinary insect. When the mission is completed, he's back in the hospital room. The morning came, and he opened the window, and the sound woke up his mother, and she woke up, dazed, and asked who was beside him, but was shocked to see Dyson standing in front of him, shaped like a muscle man. And the nursing team that oversaw his recovery, his restoration should last at least 6 months. It was incredible for them to have son able to make remarkable progress in just 15 days. His mother was still worried about her son, but the gentle consolation doctor calmed her down, saying not to be afraid, while Daisu, feeling the fruits of his mission, began to see significant progress as some of his powers returned. He stretched and looked around until he saw the mother talking to the nurse. Tears, in the eyes when the mother thanked the nurse, who also consoled her with understanding and sympathy for her situation. Dae-sun understood how much the last 10 years must have been a difficult time for his mother. His heart was tight with feeling, and as he clenched his fists tightly, he promised in his heart to protect his mother. Now he was back. He went to the bathroom and shouted that 1,000 tien. Suddenly his soul was drawn into 1,000 tien. On arrival, he asked if the system could play the execution process. The positive feedback system made him choose the difficulty level of the random mission. He thought of its status as the Devil King and dared to set the difficulty level as Hell, the highest and most challenging level, and then a black ball appeared in front of him. The image that appeared stunned him visually. In front of him stands none other than the ruler of Hell perfectly. Same form as Dae-sun, but with his full strength. Dae-sun called up his sword, the excitement surging in his heart at the thought of the fight. Without waiting, his Lepik rushed forward with a strong attack from above. The weak Dae-sun barely kept the attack from going hard, feeling a sense of exhaustion as his copy continued to attack from all directions, finding weaknesses in Dae-sun's defense. Overwhelmed by the enormous power of the imposter, he realized that the longer this battle lasted, suddenly the more negative it was for him, and reached out to Dae-sun, causing him to be blown across the battlefield. Breathing, panting, he felt that the body of the copy looked more like the real thing. But with a smile on his lips, he activated the blood-new skills, made himself unable to be attacked from himself. Even being slashed with a sword, he felt nothing, and quickly changed the direction of the battle by smashing the fake's face to the ground. However, this advantage did not last long, and to his surprise, the copy was not easy to overcome. It was the same skill. The battle was fierce again, and Dae-sun was soon stabbed with a sword, the pain being a clear reminder of the risk. Meanwhile, the cleaner walked into the bathroom, ready to open the back door, received no answer from the inside. When she reached for the knob, was immediately urgently returning to deity led Dae-sun, feeling squeezed. The weight of potential defeat pressed on him, and he realized that if lost now, all his works would be wasted. Despair drove him to think of a way to turn things around, despite relying on luck, helping him quickly open up and look at the items in the archives and pick up the supplement craft. The drug can restore by making 20% of the energy, which if 5 bottles are used in total will cause him to regain a full 100%. Small hopes begin to form in his mind. During the war, he decided to risk drinking a bottle, feeling the restorative power that circulated through his body. But when interrupted by his fake partner, our hero did not wait and was not afraid to draw his fists away, ignoring his low health. When the fake threat was punched to the point of floating away, the hero's confidence quickly returned. Without delay, he pulled out 2 more bottles of antidote. However, his doppelganger did not give up easily, immediately drank both. Almost kicking him with a violent round kick, he skillfully evaded the attack and then drank the 3rd tonic. They had no chance of a break at all while exchanging punches at a speed that caught sight. Meanwhile, our protagonist managed to finish drinking the 4th tonic, but in his frustration, despite recovering so much, he still couldn't overcome the double identity Fred, which it didn't delay in catching him in a chorus position. An evil smile appeared on its face as its sword plunged straight to our demon king, Sinta Blue Joe, Mrs. Manyang's loop, which it Eventually, he used a super smart plan of 200 to turn the game upside down his own stomach, stabbed by his own sword, baffling it when its weapons disappeared into Lezong's treasury. Our protagonist laughed at the craftsmanship of the ever-too-confident Fred couple as it fell to his knees, enjoying a last-second victory. After completing the hell-level difficulty mission, the flame blue window announced that the user achieved an execution rate of 100% and his body restored the highest condition is neat as a bonus. He also gained the ability to use the hell system on Earth. Suddenly, his hospital suit was torn away. The battle wound-filled body image awakening overwhelming memories, reminding our demon king of all the suffering that brought him to this point, made him feel fervently familiar. However, when he ordered the system to take him back to the world, the system appeared. A window came up asking if he wanted to read the unread message. When choosing yes, the message was congratulated explained that after the king left, the heavens took control of hell, caught the devil in a trap. Knowing the impact, our protagonist scoffs at the hell for stealing his life. 80 years, and now, back asking for help with a smile, pecking, biting the king of hell, fearlessly flipping the middle finger to the members of the kingdom of hell, cursing them with pleasure from revenge, he ordered the system to take him out of heaven, shocking the monsters in hell when they realized that their destiny had been determined. My men were doing one-handed vertical push-ups, ignorantly, while the mother and fortune-teller were in silence with amazement. Using their Sherlock Holmes-level analytical skills, the doctor concluded that the mother continued to struggle with her belief in her son's incredible change, despite the consolation of doctors. But she expressed hope to understand how doctors eventually advised her to go to the Power Awakers Association, where her son was heard silent. The scene shifts to footage of the hero and his mother sitting in a taxi as he misses his mother's conversation with the doctor. He also wonders if the mother might be hiding further confusion to him. He looked out the window thinking what on earth had happened during his sleep when they got home. The mother said to be back soon, and then left. When entering the house, he was surprised to find the red-haired girl pulling the money out of the drawer, he thought in his head, trying to remember who this mysterious girl was. Suddenly, the mother rushed in to break the somber silence. She revealed that the girl was his realized that the woman he had never known all along was his own sibling. Seeing her fiery daughter pick up the money again, their mother was visibly upset as Gu ignored and prepared to leave. Meanwhile, our brother Steele was in the shock of his only sister's unknown as she walked past him, his sister raping, reminding him that the last 10 years have been hell for their mother, and Dae-song looks down with sadness, regretting not being able to help with anything as she leaves. Their mother asks her at least where to go, and then the noise calls everyone's attention again. The debt collectors back. They threatened to break in if the doors didn't open on the count of 1 to 3. Everyone was silent, but our fellow was furious, ready to avenge himself. Getting bored waiting outside the house, the men in silver kicked their doors. No.1 asked her daughter to go back into the house, but she was still not afraid. The silver armor turned towards the gangster next to him, asking if he should break in and break the door until Jisoo momentarily complained that he was too thinking bad. She must be a daughter. Angrily rushed into the house as his ugly and flirtatious companion stared. Their mother, just trembling, apologized so deeply that she took the cash out of her pocket. But soon the money rose into the air when the silver armor, angry at the small amount, punched her violently. Seeing Mom being assaulted to the ground, our hero is so angry that he explodes. He kicks the silver dress until it floats with a single punch full of pleasures. The fat and ugly gangster asks what happened, while the man in the silver dress, who used to be arrogant in shock, Pyong cries, tells his father to be bullied. After a moment of playing, hair was caught in the chin while our man was preparing to punish him reasonably for his mother. He hit the bull face not 5 times, not 10, but 100 times before the asshole fell down and hurt on the floor. In desperation, he grabbed his leg and tried to beat our kid, but like my coolest man, punched through a chair, sending the unsub flying into the wall and lying next to his partner. In shock, the man in the silver suit picked up the knife, taunted our child without homophobia. Our protagonist instead calmly grabbed his wrist and twisted it violently, like plasticine in revenge for the way he had hurt his mother. The man screaming in pain, holding his useless but in a more brutal way than both of them combined, ugly-faced, our demon warning him that he would not survive without a solution, not to have a witness, just that he will finish dealing with that gangster. She pleaded with her son to stop, of hearing his mother's collectors, who are now in tears, rushed out of the house, running back to their cars, talking unconvincingly about why the hospitalized child is getting stronger after a decade of consequences. If the work is unsuccessful, the money suit wonders, asks the partner what to do. The big man with the Karuka face tries to change the subject, but the money suit immediately interrupts. When at home, the mother explained that after he was unconscious, she had to sell the house and the store. And again, when the money ran out, it went to borrow money from 3 different institutions. Unlike the amount of money borrowed, compound interest became an unpayable debt. Keeping was so high that it was almost impossible to pay. Learned that she had to drop out of school and work at a restaurant to help pay off her debts. By tears in his eyes, the mother revealed that the sister worked hard all day and night to help him. He clenched his teeth in pain, Unfortunately, she should not have to drop out of school. His mother explained that although Gu tried, did not earn enough, and had gone to an unknown place in recent months, heartbreaking that his family was suffering, he hoped they would let him die. But his mother comforted him gently. The ensuing silence was interrupted by a phone call when, seeing as a debt collector, our boy told her to send it in frustration, he mocked them. But his eyes widened in shock to hear the bad news. The scene shifted to his sister, who was bound and gagged bastard with pushed her head while it was on the phone with our hero, threatening to take $100 million in 24 hours. If wanting his sister to remain safe, furious, he held the phone tight. When his mother asked what had happened, he was only told to come back to be careful not to hurt or kill anyone, because if it were done, life would end. But the king knew that killing them did not solve anything different from hell. When he said to his mother that he would not commit a crime, our protagonist accepted an offer to learn basic skills with 4 options to consider, but in the end he concluded that there was no interesting choice. Meanwhile, a group of thugs kept taking Daesong's crying. Meanwhile, a bad-looking gangster reminds her she's a hostage. Suddenly, a spark burst out and the fire went out. The elevator stalled when he saw a spark near his feet. The fat man stalled as our protagonist miraculously popped up. He teased that he had come to deliver the money, but in fact, our hero chose the Shadow of the Soul skill, allowing him to summon a soul that becomes himself. Found the target, when there is the blood of the smashes the head of the silver suit against the iron wall. At the same time, the disgusting man is frightened, knowing that Daesong is the hidden arourer in the first place, startled his sister, but the evil spirit pretends to be unaware. When the elevator door finally opens, the fat man stumbles out, announces to the gang members that the awakers an angry noise on his own land. The gangster took up his weapon, and the evil spirit stood threatening him, the first stepping out to carry out the attack. However, he quickly found himself immediately sent behind, receiving a kick that knocked him unconscious, so Electric Daesong caused a disturbance for the gang. Now the last man still standing went to Jisoo and checked if she was safe. He quickly took off the rope and the tape that strapped her and rushed her home, but she showed concern for her beloved brother. With a cold atmosphere, he promised to go to her after finishing his errand. When the elevator door closed on her, the evil spirit prepared for a new battle. A loud, painful moan throughout the corridor, which only senseless figures can see, seems to our hero carefully climbing the stairs floor by floor. As he approaches another group of gangs smoking, he smiles, pokes fun that everyone is so weak that there is no challenge. So he annoys one of them, exasperated by insults, a man like full of tattoos covering his enormous muscles. Annihilated. He angrily answered the call, scolded the henchman, and warned him to divorce while he was relaxing in the sauna. The frightened gang insisted that he come faster. The order made the boss more angry. But when he heard his henchman being knocked unconscious, he realized something was wrong. Get up from his seat, he had a big punch in anger, squeezing his phone until the headquarters of the gang, one word was extravagant. A bloody corpse floods the shadowy ground, approaching another member who asks him for medicine to meet the same fate, but suddenly the wall bursts out. The electrically powered Da-eun-jung turns to see the giant man holding his face and immediately smashes his head while at the same time our hero thought that his mother and sister were not surprised by his power at all and realized that there were others like him. The power of his soul shadow made him retreat safely. The boss was shocked to see this man wipe himself in front of him, causing chaos to rise alone. The shadow of a bad spirit asked if the chief was awake, also knew. The boss smiled proudly, hearing the words too familiar to send our child. Our hero caught the eye of a muscular demon whose clothes surged from empowerment, ignoring his size as always. Our hero then punched the boss in the face and mocked the damn giant, weak. Lying upside down against the wall, the boss denied that he was easy to lose and got up angrily to strike a retaliation, but was quickly kicked in the engraved face with several kicks. Our man knocked the boss down, explaining how real people are. what the hell is, and how it creates suffering. At the same time, the giant man is only thought to survive and asks for time to rest with a broken soul, a muscular gangster offering money and everything he has in exchange for his
Hearing
worthless
about money
life.
makes my people interested. He asks the owner about the safety of the gang after guiding our protagonist to a closet with a safe, and then the boss runs away like a crying girl, finally to his white car in the parking lot, thinking he's safe. And then the boss goes after our boy, but his enemy sneaks in
Whispering
silence.
that he forgot to ask the safe's password. Even though the gang leader was afraid to go crazy, the Death Shadow still bothered him one last time, saying that he could be contacted anywhere. And then later, money fell out of the portal in front of us,
shouting like
totaling
a demon,
more than
snatching all his
500
stuff.
million. He walked into the mall and was fascinated by a new folding phone, which the merchant said was priced at 2 points, 9 million won. His curiosity grew, so he went to see another model similar to Samsung Sadfreeze. The merchant offered an installment
on the counter
plan
and buy
but got tired.
both machines immediately. The merchant, with a curious attitude, get the money as if they cheated on anyone or overcharged our villain. Get home at ease.
When his
Put
mother
the shopping
called him
thing
to come
down
and
in
dine
no
together,
hurry.
he replied that he had to leave first, before his mother asked where he was going. He had already disappeared. In fact, he was invited to dine with a friend at the restaurant. Chan-ho was visibly shocked by Dai-sang's change, because his shape had changed dramatically
The two
since
started
the last
the meal
time
by
they met a
drinking
few
together.
days
Shlo
earlier.
started talking, asked what,
Which is about his future plans.
remind him that we are no longer carefree school children.
But Dai-seng changed the topic of conversation to ask how many apartments could he buy. He explained that unfortunately the amount was barely enough to rent a small apartment outside the city. Even this revelation made the demon uncomfortable, and he anxiously asked how much money it would take to buy a place in the city. Chan-ho said that at least it took 2 billion won, and then consoled him by warning that since he fell asleep, the world has changed greatly. Changed the matter to matter, he asked if Dai-seng is awake. Already no. Or also, Dai-seng replied that in order to confirm that kind
as
of
they
thing,
left the restaurant,
he must understand the
Chan-ho
meaning of the word
explained everything
everything to him, starting to recount from the beginning that shortly after Da-seng entered a coma, dimensional doors known as grace began to appear all over the place. In the early days, these doors were seen
then
as a
everything
minor
changed
threat
as
and were
monsters
kept in
began
control.
to fall
out of the gate, causing the world to be flooded with chaos and severe
Mankind
damage. Fought back, but found that man-made weapons were useless to those evil monsters. And Da-seng, who could not be parked, interrupted and asked if not even guns or cannons
Chan-ho
could hurt them.
insisted
That conventional weapons can do nothing, and then explained that over time it had discovered a new type of weapon, a special weapon called the aura weapon. These new weapons made from monster carcasses proved effective against those creatures. Those who could use them were called awakers, heroes who stood on the front lines when humanity faced almost complete extinction. The saying that necessity is the mother of invention is true as humanity enters adaptation to survive in an attempt to boast of the Demon King, picking up a state-of-the-art folding phone from his arsenal, trying to impress Chan. But his confidence was broken when he realized that phones like this were now distributed for free. So he realized that he had been deceived, remorseful, ashamed. He was silent. When Chan-ho turned his story back to
did
the
not
topic
dare
of the
to tell his
awakened,
friends how
telling
much he
Dyson
actually
that even
paid.
if he doesn't use an aura weapon, he can use the aura to make his body stronger. And he also said that hearing not only about Dai-seng's body getting better, but also that he's been scaring away from famous
Daizong
thugs
said,
lately. Joking, asking Chan-ho if he wasn't an awake, knew he would still give money and have the same attitude towards him, secretly revealing his intention to use this friendship as a tool.
There
Chan-ho
suddenly
got
came a
angry,
crack
but
before
before
the quarrel
and the monster
spread.
began to pour out in their group when the monster lashed a wooden weapon into the ground, shaking as violently as an earthquake. That immense power frightened the nearby villagers to the point of
The
trembling.
monsters
Roared horribly, causing the humans to stampede and run for their lives. But Dason did not recognize these creatures. They were clearly
Not relying
different
on
from
his
what he
feet
had
to the
encountered
ground
until he
hell.
collapsed a piece of road and threw it at the incoming monster. But before the debris charged at the camera, a glow appeared. The attack was placed.
Chan Ho quickly warned Mr. Singh that these swords did not work on these monsters as one of the monsters approached them. Chan Ho closed
But the
his
sound of
eyes,
blood
believing
splashing
they would
forced
not
him to
survive.
open his eyes
Instead, the
again.
monster was decapitated. He risked standing tall. He has proven that an empty-handed attack can eliminate these creatures by force alone. Chan Ho can't believe his eyes, but seeing Dai Seng get rid of the monster group so easily, he starts to wonder if his friends have awakened to B levels. But he knows it's not the time to think about things like that. He turned his attention to the safety of the citizens around him as panic overwhelmed the crowd. He raised his voice, warning frightened people following him to ensure they knew the path to safety through the sewer system. As people began to react, they were surrounded by monsters. The little girl, who was extremely scared, began to cry, and at the pace of her almost attack, Chan Ho crept in to save her life at the last second. On this occasion, Dai Seng came in, removing the devil with a mocking smile. Chan Ho persuading Chan Ho to go into safely escape, warning while the young blogger rushed to start the live broadcast. While Dai Seng fought the monster alone, the public watched excitedly while live, cheering Dai Seng's courage. Suddenly, the video recorder shouted, now, telling Dai Seng to turn around and watch. Is hit by a demon into a car. The impact is reflected through the chaos. The video recorder smiles and laughs sadly, but will shoot clips and views. Knowing that the hero is attacked will be an exciting and attention-grabbing sight while the crowd can escape into the sewers. Chan Ho Ryu and the little girl with her mother who hugged each other. Tears. Sorry for being separated. Chan Ho turned to ask him if he planned to go back, causing him to be born. He struggled with hesitation, knowing that the companion was still fighting the monster. One of them smiled coldly. The scene changed to Dai Seng, who found himself surrounded by monsters, thinking that the hero was over. Both the recorder and the monster were surprised to dodge the attack. Then he said to the monster, fluently, thanks to it for helping him restore the mana a little bit and reciprocate it by giving it a painless death. His voice calm and full of power. The demon lord, merciless, anyone while fighting the monster precisely. While the live stream audience took to comment, complaining the image was blurred and among the audience there is a person named to see it more clearly. A 5 million won transfer with a 5 million posture contract, the photographer can take clear pictures of Dai Seng fighting monsters. Excitement increases. Hearing about the donation of 5 million won for the photographer and the brave demon king, but his cowardice made him dare not approach the event. Meanwhile, Dyson continued to punch the monster in the head with a quick, strong punch. He realized that this incessant fight took a lot of mana. Another on-camera commented, offered more money to get the picture clear, overwhelmed by incessant notifications from sponsors. YouTuber was both excited and worried, confused between loud craving and fear of what lies ahead. He received 5 more 20 million won donations from one audience, which demanded detailed information about heroes fighting monsters, with the promise of more money. The scene shifted to several viewers of the live broadcast, who were competing for a bid for Dai Seng, a group network leader who was clearly fun and impressively strong. There was a growing interest in Dai Seng as they saw his talent and thought to take advantage of his excellency for their own gain. Meanwhile, Dai Seng dealt with so many monsters that he was left shaking. However, one of the monsters, who was probably their leader, killed one of the monsters without showing any fear while preparing to face Dai Seng. Meanwhile, the blogger's fall in money grew to such an extent that he was willing to risk everything for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity enough. Combining the courage to go in and shoot more clearly, Chan Ho's appearance came up, gave him extreme shock, asking why he had not escaped. The unexpected sight caused his phone to get out of hand. The audience in the comments collapsed him with insults that he was a coward and the safety of a nearby building. But the child resists with the idea of money and views. As he is dragged away, a monster steps on his phone until it is crushed. The reviewer loses consciousness. But before the danger arises, another Dai Seng thwarts by beheading the monster in a quick gesture. As the rest of the monster is eliminated, Dai Seng turns to ask Chan Ho why the friend returned very scared about Dai Seng. In the answer, Dai Seng asked if a friend could wait about 20 minutes because he had to go to a place. Do not worry. said that the coalition would arrive soon. Seeing the ignorance of his friend, Da-sen promised to tell it later. He rushed into the temple of the gods, and Chan-ho was so puzzled that when Dai-seng opened the door, he wondered how Dai-seng opened the door and what had happened to him
when
since
entering
they last
our
met.
Demon King Angel, Ye carelessly, the face indicates annoyance from the physical condition. After a little struggle, the front panel appears, showing that his mana intake is only 10%. Sadly dissatisfied with his mana level, he quickly sought out how to restore it, and eventually realized to go back and face the experience in his own notebook, with the reward reflecting success from passing various obstacles. A wave of familiar feelings lapped into his mind. The faculty of memories about the notebook that helped him stay sane in hell sprang up. Without hesitation, he consented to face the test. In the blink of an eye, the notebook suddenly appeared before him. A huge, powerful wind memory overwhelmed back in our hero's mind as the notebook released its contents. It burst into flames, leaving a bitter taste from the painful memory with a strong determination to finally increase his magical power. The King of Hell ordered the creation of page 5 years of torture in hell. Meanwhile, on the planet Chan-ho, taking a child walker who tries shyly to find a story about a hero from his helper. In Influency. The child asked carelessly, "Where's the cool devil fighter gone?" Chan-ho looked with contempt, ignoring why someone would file 20 million to just take a picture of his friend's face. Ignoring the answer, the child pretended not to know, but then the noise shocked both of them. Feeling the phone shaking, Chan-ho read a message from the boss informing that on the weekend reinforcements would be delayed. He urged to flee as soon as possible with anxiety. Chan-ho read only that the best demon hunter friend would return early before it was too late. Our hero is going back in time to a forest of soft wind hunters blowing through him. But he is uncomfortable because of the eerie silence around him. Appearing a sign panel announcing his mission controls the 10 White Lotus gods, who are wild gods. He has no idea where his enemies are and is unaware that a shadow is coming, creeping in the sky above his head. The robot fixated on its target, the eyes glowing red-hot before releasing a glittering energy beam, instinctively telling it of the danger at the last minute. Our hero evaded warts, almost burned, destroyed. Through the knee-blurring fog, the King of Demons suddenly saw the body of the fair news object, a machine with a face that only a mother could love, if it were real, came up as he was evaluating what was called the creation of the gods, its hands quickly hurtling towards him. Unimpressed, cutting the low air against by attacking again, his fists straight into the giant robot's hard metal face, causing it to backward vigorously. It eventually moved its hands like a sharp knife around him, but he easily dodged the shot and punched it full force into its stomach. The intense force of the collision caused the deity machine to collapse from top to bottom, leaving only debris and smoke in its path, as he stopped to wait for the next enemy, his eyes returning to his attention to the strange red core among the debris. Chan-ho and the child walker arrive on deck, but instead find gruesome images of the killed bodies scattered around him. Chan-ho feels frightened and notices a seriously injured man still trying to take care of him with trembling lips, a man who almost died trying to warn Chan-ho about the threat behind him. Chan-ho turned to meet a giant Oblin spade demon holding a large wooden scepter, standing not far away, worried about the injured man. Walker thought of wanting to move him. He warns the child to beware of a false move, saying his time had passed. Makes the cowardly child turn to look at the threat he should be wary of, and then gives him extreme shock when he sees the stiff child hit Ho. With a resounding telling roar, him to wake up, a giant monster jumps into the air, ready to overlay them. But now let's revisit Phnom, which is the god of hell's analysis of a giant red ball. God's machines seem to be able to rebuild themselves stronger and better adapt to their enemies. Many screen panels appear to elaborate on this annoying feature. Quickly understanding, he went up and punched the core. But like Jelly, his attack was easily pushed back. At 3% recovery, he went up and stood on the core, obviously annoyed. By a punch full of fervent rage, he got only a few red sparks. Although the King of Hell continued incessantly, the revival of the core went smoothly, unfazed. However, as the recovery neared 70%, the error alarm began to sound as he was preparing to finish with the final attack.
The laser beam line went through, almost missed him, and then he turned around and realized he was surrounded by other robots all the time. Colossus shot from all directions in perfect cooperation, maneuvering a deft attack on the ninja. He was aware of the dire situation he was in, and what's more, the core was gradually approaching 98%
However,
completion. The King of Hell does not give up. Breaking through the chaotic attack of the laser, he can reach you and destroy it at the last second, in frustration with the unfair fight. Our hero decided to search memories for guidance, but before he fully thinks about it, there was a sudden severe headache. With more luck and courage than expected, the robot ignores his warnings, so as memories of his past flow in, he comes up with a plan to preach these ugly robots to deserve. Meanwhile, on Earth, Chan-Ho and the blogger kids run desperately as a giant monster is creeping on its head, the two parting ways in a plan to confuse the big beast about who should pursue. Their plan was to loop back into the building, where Hung's fat and ugly big brother couldn't catch up. Even as its enormous arm tried to grab him, they managed to escape, giving it a moment to breathe. When the creature finally gives up, Chan-Ho quickly took the opportunity to escape while still can. Meanwhile, our heroes are jumping and running, evading between divine machines in other dimensions, by barely keeping up with their incessant laser beams. His goal was to create as much chaos as possible to attract the attention of the surrounding robots, when it seemed to be accomplished. And then he ran away from the flock of gods to empty space in the woods, eventually stopping to let the enemy lock
Ignoring
the
their
target
allies,
and
others
prepare
prepare
for
for
attack.
But suddenly,
our demon king
one of the
sits
giant
comfortably and
robots
points
fell
his
to his
finger at a
knees.
brainless machine. One by one, the lined machines fell, one by one, as the Marshwara revealed the reason this forest got its name. Like that, a giant tooth cage emerged from the ground and swallowed the lined god machines one by one. Our young boy looked comfortably from afar as the giant warden completed his mission to 10 gods and then came up with a congratulatory scream. In return, he won a new prize, namely increased physical ability, along with a reserve of mana and a knife of judgment. When the weapon appeared in front of him, he validated its charisma. That this belt works like a remote-controlled plane in a radius of 100 meters as a real poured birthday present. After testing his cool new weapon, the King of Hell also chose to return to Earth. The scene turns to news from the moment the door first opens. The anchor reported solemnly about the tragic cracks that killed so many lives. He consults a pale-skinned professor who looks like an uncle who likes to bring politics to speak at birthday parties to find a solution. The men pointed their fingers at the Power Awakening Association, saying they were the cause of the disaster. He commented that they were over-rested and just postponed the problem when there was a lack of predators. If the predators are in Hawaii or on duty, so they should take responsibility. And then we see a guy with boxing hair watching the news on the phone, annoyed to the professor. He commented that the association's predators got little money against Shaft when hearing teammates complain, so he told them to focus on producing results now. Otherwise, it could risk losing their jobs. But their conversation was interrupted when they heard live news about the Awakers handling the monsters alone. Returning to the scene, Williker Boy and Chan-Ho anxiously staying in the room. Suddenly, a thunderous noise caused them to turn and look, startled as the way of the room began to vibrate. They peeked away carefully, but before fully understanding the situation, the roof collapsed, leaving them startled, with almost heartless fear, in shock. Chan-Ho wondered if it was their time. But the real Dae-Seong is hungry. Standing proudly on the wreck of a large, decapitated Hung's head, Chan-Ho is glad to see a friend at the time he needs the most. Although the condition is dire, but our young boy still smiles coolly, pushes something away. The close friend asks if he is okay, moans in pain. The King of Hell orders the child to eat fast food. Both looked at him without talking, make meat sobering, but because he wanted to enjoy a roast burger in a life-threatening situation without chicken in our demonic foodie stock, analyzing whether this demonic pork was edible, causing the other two to almost vomit out because of his willingness. Luckily, the soldier showed up, making the blogger child feel glad to survive, of course. While our hero was silent, enjoying a meal, the soldier instead ignored the young boy, who expressed his intense gratitude and said in surprise before he knew that was the gut of the monster. Chan-Ho came in and introducing his friend Chan-Ho, pulling away the hungry hero and unexpectedly speeding him to eat fully later. The soldier changed his stance and explained that it could not let them
So
go
the
easy.
Hua
Man proudly brought out his tribal card, saw the man's cool stuff. The soldier was smiling, ready to take to safety. Meanwhile, in another place, a young man with boxing hair was busy releasing waste after seeing the carcass
The
of a
team leader
disgusting,
yelled at him to go to the
frustrating,
survivors
destroyed instead of
monster.
lying jingled on the ground like a bug. A man with boxing hair who immediately motivates soldiers to enter the restricted zone because he is an association hunter. While at the same time, the elegant team leader mulls over who exactly is a demon
to
who
the
can tear
boy
a
in
body
Chan
like
Ho's
this.
car.
The hero's best friend, suggesting they sleep at his apartment. But as a family man, our son emphasizes that he must go to his family. A close friend warns that his family will be shocked.
He took a
if
short
he
glance
visits
at
in this
himself and
condition. Decided to call his mother before they both went out to eat new fried chicken. After cleaning, they reached Chan Ho's apartment, and I was impressed by the luxury
After
of
the
it. Cleaning was done, the two sat at a table with several expensive dishes lined up with curiosity, his friend telling him about the huge amount of money the hunters made. Chan Ho insisted, but added that the shooters were imposters when they saw the salary they received, asking if they wanted to be hunters.
With a little
and
uneasy,
he moaned back
Ho
while
informed
eating the
his
whole
friend
piece
that
of
if he were to
chicken
be
wings.
valued
For talent, he would rank quite highly. And he also added that with his crazy power, our protagonist would not be below the A-list. Confused by the terminology, Chan Ho explained to him that a better level just means he can join the big network, however. He points out that monthly income is so high that it's crazy. With interest, Daseng asked if there was a higher level than A. Chan Ho revealed that only 5 people in the world, out of 200 million awakens, are S level. Smiling like Prince Le Chan Ho, joking that his partner does not dream of being
that
the
the A level was
S
enough.
level. He asked again if the gods would be hunters. Shlu said yes and promised to help everything. The two of them raised a glass, celebrating the occasion. The scene shifts to a group of mafiosi sitting eating in an upscale restaurant. The long-haired stranger repeated the words to a bald gangster who was very afraid of him. He imitated his own words, wondering if the facts were corporate. Was the whole enterprise destroyed by a young boy in the hood on his tablet?
Enough to wipe your lips gracefully.
He teased that it was really embarrassing. The brown-haired man, the manager of the Hong Mali Gu network, got up and asked why Bloody did not run away and came to him, one of the good people. Bloody pleaded with severe terror as the man put his hand on his shoulder. With cold eyes stepped on, he asked if Bundy was shaking because the corpse across the room frightened the sweaty Leinster gang until trembling, Bundy wept, begging him not to execute
Calmly,
like a corpse
Siagu,
lying a few meters
gentle
from
picture
now.
of
Browdy's head explains that the only thing he cares about is the money stolen. He makes it clear that he plans to take the gang's hidden money, too. Scared
but Browdy,
until
who is so
trembling,
scared that
Bundy
he is
remained
stiff,
silent,
plays
as
a
Siak
fool.
Wu unexpectedly quietly decided his fate. The long-haired man backed away, claiming he trusted Bundy's
after expressing
words. Gratitude for the information. Shortly, the smooth, bald head in Siak's hand burst out strongly. Siak, too, barely cared to bring the blood as he was still comfortable. Portrayal, picking up he ordered a girl secretly in the shadows to hunt down the wrong person neatly. Meanwhile, our son finally visited the Chan Ho Hunters Association, suggesting that he go in for a power awakening test. But when he ignored Chan Ho,
like a father waiting
him
for
to
his
speak
son's
officially,
exam,
except to
Chan
watch
Ho
as an outsider, asked him to
outsider.
text the results when he was done while walking in the front door. Our boy explored a strange group of people waiting
committed
to
to the
apply
salary,
together, thus ignoring colleagues, and went straight into lab number 3, and after lining up, he checked the phone and saw a message from his mother asking when to go home. Not wanting her to worry, he replied that he would take a shower and then go home slowly. As every mother, she asked if he ate good food, made our boy smile and look forward to getting home more. His warm moment was interrupted when the employee informed it was his cue, and then the fancied old man began to complain that
Although
he was
the
awake.
employee
Insisted that meter was working normally, the old man had not stopped complaining. He also claimed that losing his hair in one night was evidence of waking up and making everyone who previously annoyed laugh out. The stubborn man declared not to give up until sympathy came, until my men finally grabbed his shiny scalp and lobbied for silence with a strong aura. Even so, the old man was adamant that the meter was still broken, so the kind king of demons gave him a chance, and the hunter offered to check it out for himself. As he stretched his hand over the ball, it sparked and turned green, showing that he was infamously sea level. The old man was sweaty. The smiling waitress showed him a way out willingly. Clearly a fool, he was old. Still complaining, did not accept the truth. Made our
Finally
young man
reaching
feel
his cue,
embarrassed. The female employee talked to a colleague about the possibility that our hero might be #1 of the day because she saw his horrible aura, but he just slapped her head lightly as a stop
With
to
the
talking.
full support
of our lovely waitress, our hero approached the manometer. Chaos suddenly erupted at the Korean Hunters Association, with loud chaos all around. The branch manager immediately began answering the hotline and was ordered to check room number 3 on the 6th floor. With growing doubts about the rush of the line, he began to suspect that perhaps it was the level 6S hunter who woke up. However, he quickly teased the idea, thinking that that was impossible. When he got to the 6th floor, he headed to the 3rd part of the exam room, but instead found that there were already a lot of crowd away and finally saw the cause of the chaos. The crystal temple ball shattered into risk, resembled a broken eggshell. The manager felt anxious and rushed to ask the employee about the situation. The employee quickly informed that a man named in the ball changed, had placed his hand on the crystal glass catching up. It exploded into a cloud of smoke, leaving both staff and spectators deeply baffled. Discontent began to build in the manager when he insisted that the description might only be a broken meter, but the employee pointed out that they used 3 crystal meters and each suffered the same fate. Heard that the manager gave up and knew that it was impossible for every ball to have a bug. Meanwhile, our boy anxiously hoped he would not be asked to compensate for all 3 cracked crystal balls. Nervously, he turned to ask the manager about his results, but instead received confusion from the manager. And then the manager informed Dae-sung that the use of additional meters could lead to similarly
He said it was the first time
they
had
come across this kind of unusual situation, and hence they needed to make a risky decision. He went on to explain that in the event the crystal plexiglass could not provide a proper evaluation, the results of the license test alone will be sufficient to evaluate him. Usually the test is only part of the ranking process, but in Dae-sung's case, it is the only decisive Dae-sung who is still unsure of the reliability of the license test. Before anyone could answer, one of the staff came in to elaborate on the exam system to reassure him of that, with a void left, just waiting for the demon gods to nod, accept their offer, and keep quiet. The branch manager still felt anxious about the whole situation and tried to understand what was going on, while the waitress, who had previously discussed the mechanism of crystal plexiglass, she proposed that crystal plexiglass may not be able to measure energy beyond one limit. The manager, who became more interested, asked if she meant Dae-sung might be at SSS level. They nodded, but her colleagues laughed at the idea, pointing out that in such an uncertain world, everything is possible. But he didn't believe that Da, who would actually reach to Dae-sung as he leaves the Hunters Association building. The idea remains with the incident just happening. His phone rings, and it is Chan-ho, his friend, who answers Dae-sung's call. Chan-ho telling him that by now he has been given almost boundary that it was back broken for some reason. Knowing that Dae-sung likes to create chaos, Chan-ho joked that he was playing fun, but quickly refused to think that it was unlikely. Dae-sung confirmed to Chan-ho that he followed the instructions carefully, putting his hand on the meter. So Chan-ho responded by saying that he had a feeling in his heart that something strange had happened from the beginning, which promised to tell more detailed stories about the exam later, and then the conversation was over. Seconds after hanging up, but the demon's sharp sense immediately began to work, he immediately realized that there was a sniper lurking in the distance, his hand on the trigger, aiming straight at him. The sharpshooter woman muttered about Dae-sung, saying he didn't look strong at all. She was sure he would end up with just 1 bullet, even though he looked strong. But before she pressed the trigger, she felt something was wrong and was shocked to learn that it had been caught. A subject she never thought would happen because the hunter had never noticed her before. Dae-sung pointed to his head, his face filled with anger, and rushed her to look at the sniper, feeling scared, because not only had she been caught, but Dae-sung's voice had now reached her from this distance, and she was shaking, scared. but quickly gathered the courage to press the trigger, exploding, and the shooter was deeply glad. As the smoke began to fade, he had successfully killed the target there without even the slightest injury. Although the sharpshooter used an aura bullet, but seemed fearing that she was thinking of retreating, but when she turned around, Daksoon sent his knife to stab her leg, causing her to fall. When the sniper woman turned to her target, she stood in front of her like a scene from a horror movie. Daksoon lied, claiming that the bullet hit his head but would not be able to kill him. The sharpshooter woman hurriedly drew a gun, pointed it at him, and asked where he was from. The king of demons said nothing but the truth, saying he was only from hell, but the woman would not have accepted this truth. Of course, out of fear and anxiety, she fired several aura bullets. Suddenly, he appeared behind her, hoping for him causing her to be shocked by his unexpected presence. She did not understand at all, being sure that her enemy had fallen. But he stood there without even a little injury. The young boy grabbed her by the neck, strangled her, and pushed her until it hit the wall. He uses his powers to cover the girl with a slow and frightening demonic object as she blacks out, which clarifies that he didn't mean to kill her, him.